people say, I've got a wonderful gift. Well, it's not my gift, it's a divine gift. And it's for the benefit of other people, not for the benefit of yourself. And people should realise that. So I don't ask for anything, not like that.
Not even a rice pudding or a cheese sandwich?
Not even a rice pudding or a cheese, or how to play the drums, which was my only movement into music, and my motivation was to get closer to ladies. And I was a young man, well before I met the wife, and I didn't make a very good drummer. But at least I tried. At least I had the looks then.
I think we found that Stephen's true motivations. It all boils down to food and girls.
Well, it used to.
Maybe that's all men. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Jack gave you this test.
Yes.
You passed the test, the test of resilience.
Well, it wasn't. It was more to it than that, because what he actually did, I was taking a meeting. I took 2 meetings, and after I took these meetings, he asked me not to. Well, how it happened was, it was quite interesting. I did the 2 meetings, which he eventually taught me about colours. We see colours around people, without going into great detail. And then he sat one night and he said to me, and it's so strange. I sat for an unfoldment with him. I don't call it development, it sounds like a new lot of council houses are going up, spiritual unfoldment, and I sat with him for exactly 9 years. It started off as my teacher, he finished up where, we were just really good friends, he was phenomenally, most gifted person I've ever met, but I am prejudiced to that, of course, because he was my teacher. And what we did, we sat and he said to me, I want you to give me a message, in a chair, similar to where. So I stood up and bumbled a few words out, and he went, so I sat down, he said, now I want you to do it properly. He said, I want you to imagine there's a full array of people here, and I want you to stand up properly. And I said, and mention a colour, and I will give you a colour which is blue. It's inspirational, you know it's inspirational, and you can say that, and then just say it exactly. And he's going blah blah messages, so I don't care what you say, just say it. So I stood up, gave to her, I'd like to come to you, sir. And then eventually I got nothing. And so I sat down, and he sat in tears. I thought, I hope I wasn't that bad. And I said to him, are you all right? And he says, he wiped his tears away, and he says, you have given me the finest message I've ever had, and you have no knowledge of that message. I was told 25 years ago that I would meet you, and I've tested you. He said, now I'll be your teacher, and you do exactly what I tell you. You don't sway to the left or to the right, what I teach you. And I agree. He said, do you agree? I said, yes, I agree. He said, now I can't understand something. He said, why all this time is John so important to name with you? I said, oh, it's my middle name, my father's middle name, my grandfather's middle name, and my great-grandfather was called John. I later find out that my grandfather, who I thought was William John, was not. His name was William Charles. Oh dear. Not until about three years ago, my younger brother Stuart brought some photographs. I've got very few photographs, but he brought me a photograph of my grandfather, which is now on the website. The grandfather was my mother's father. Now his name was Hutchinson, and I thought his name was Alfred Hutchinson. And on the back of this picture of him as a regimental sergeant major in the Royal Engineers, I turned the back over and wrote on the back of this card, which my cousin's now got, Auntie Rose's younger son, John Alfred Hutchinson. So the name was. So I got a message from beyond the grave. So John is important. And my grandson is Joseph John.
Stephen, tell us about your first demonstration, if that's the right word.
Well, an evening of clairvoyance, which was held in Mansfield, which is now called Mansfield Spiritual Centre. Which, if anybody's watching this video and you're in England, try it. It's a very, very special place. And anyway, we went to Mansfield, Jack, and he said, don't worry, he said, if you don't pick anything up, he said, they're smiling, he said, I will help you out. He said, what will happen? We'll go there, I will give a little talk, some messages and pass to you. Fine. Well, of course, you're very, very nervous. And I'm standing outside, feeling nervous, and suddenly I felt his hand. It was my father. Now, he's around me a lot, so I knew I'd be okay. Went onto the public platform, Jack starts, and I thought, what will I do? Do I see lights over people? Do I do this? Do I do that? Well, it's strange that certain people stand out. And as soon as I started, there was a most beautiful lady at the back, blonde hair, gorgeous blonde hair. And she smiled, and I went, ooh. And then I looked across and thought, I'll go to her. And I thought, oh, I think I'll give a message for him. Because by this time I'd been taught things about signs and symbols and how to do certain things, the mechanism. I kept looking around. And then what happens is Jack's giving messages, so everybody I'm picking, he goes to. I think it's like one of those shooting galleries. And another one's gone, another one. But at the back there's this lady, she keeps smiling. Well, I've got a message for her anyway. And I hope you don't go to her. And he never did. So eventually he said, ladies and gentlemen, from Mr. Jack Corbin to Leicester, I have hand over to Mr. Stephen Wakeling from Nottingham. So he did, and so of course he sits down. So of course the lady with the gorgeous blonde hair, I went to the lad, come to the lady with the blonde hair right at the back, so I give this message, and I give some more messages, and around I went, and then come to the end. So we went down. It was a big platform in those days, like a Methodist church. It's not like that now. And I went down and stood with Jack at this table, and little white people were speaking, and the two ladies, two quite elderly ladies, came walking up and said, "Oh, Mr. Corbett." I said, "No." So I said, "May I speak to Mr. Wakeling?" So I said, "Yes." So he's smiling. I thought, to him. So he said, "We'd like to thank you for that wonderful message." I went, "Oh." So thank you very much, but I'm very sorry, I can't remember you. He said, "I was the lady you came to first of all." And I thought, but she was about 22 years of age with blonde hair. He said, "You would describe everything to a detail." He said, "My dear friend had the most beautiful blonde hair. She was only 22 when she passed from this life." And when they walked away, Jack said, "There you are, you see, you gave your first message to a spirit person, didn't even know it."
Mm.
And it was as natural as natural. And another example of that was, we took a theatre at Wisbech in Cambridgeshire, and he said the same thing, the same routine. He'll do a quick talk, and then what he'd do, give messages and then pass to me. And I did some messages, and I thought, well, you've got the easy part. And I did the messages, and then he just touched the side of my jacket, and I looked at him, he says, "May I give a message? This is the master, this is the great man, may I give a message?" So he stood up and he said, "I'd like to come to the lady just down there." He said, "I have your mother, and she passed in the spirit world. She was sadly in a mental institution. He said, she's distressed and passed with great pain, but she's now free in light." And he gave her a name. And afterwards I said to him, I called him Corbo, that was his nickname. I said, "Corbo, that was a great message." He said, "Oh, which one?" I said, "The one to the lady when you stood up." He says, "Yes." He says, "It was." I said, "I wouldn't have dared give that message." He said, "Most certainly not. He said, I'm the teacher and you're the pupil." He put me in my place, and that's a good teacher.
Did you have any experience with Jack whereby you would get the same message? You know, you would sort of, as you were touring or experiencing that together, where you look at someone and both come up independently with the same message? How do these things work? If there's two mediums in the same space, you know.
Well, we all pick things up differently. You know, it's like I say, if you've got a wonderful picture, a tapestry, you know, mountain, trees, birds, plants, houses, people, you look at it, glimpse it quickly. Each person would see something different, you know, but ultimately it's the whole tapestry that we see. And we often say this is a tapestry of the spirit. No, I never had that. I've seen people who say they do, I can give that message better, which I think is silly, but at the end of the day, they do that. What I didn't have with Jack was, I would go back to his house every Friday night, and on a Friday evening I'd go back, and we'd sit down, we also had a bottle of milk, and he'd sit down and he'd go through the meeting, and he'd say to me, "By the way, when you have that message, you went to the, one particular was in Wembley in London." He said, "You went to 3 ladies at the back, 3 black ladies, and you went to the one in the middle, you should have gone to the one at the end. You had a confusion with the messages." And then he said to me once, he was in Cambridge, and he said, "You stopped in your philosophy. Why did you stop? The spirit world don't want you to stop. Get your mind working. Open your minds. Let the spirit world enter." Now the interesting thing was, yes, I might have been in London and Cambridge, but he was in Leicester. He didn't go with me.